Hey everybody, and welcome to Summerville Gardener. I'm Ben, and this is going to be chip drop number 5. Let me show you what we're doing here so far today. So right over here, I've started to move some of these edging blocks right here and use the garden hose to help me kind of line up exactly where I want the lines to go. Got a few extra pieces of flagstone from, I think it was not Stacks, it was Himes Nursery in James Island, and they're close enough to match the other ones. Went ahead and worked on some of the drainage issues right here. Just kind of dug it down past the grass, filled that in with some drainage rock just to get it kind of moved out. And the same way with this area here, just kind of dug it down a little bit just so that when I add the border edging stones right through here, this rock right here helps get all the water down and out into the yard. That way we don't get a bunch of float away from all of our wood chips that we're going to be filling in this area. I'm going to go ahead and start laying down the paper right here. We don't yet have the chip drop, so I'll go ahead and wait for, I believe it's the Paz Tree Care Service to be dropping it off. Tony over there has been great, working with me quite a bit, and I look forward to seeing him here shortly. Say hello to Shadow. Shadow. Hey, buddy. Such a pretty boy. So I got about this far on the first roll of paper and then ran out. So had to make another run to the store and grab another one of these X-Paper heavy duty contractors paper rolls. This is really good stuff. Even as I'm throwing down these big pieces of the Tennessee blue flagstone, I think it's called, it's not really tearing it up at all. It takes quite a bit to really gouge and scratch this, as you can see. And I'm not exactly being gentle with this stuff, but that's the first little tear that I've ever seen in it, and that's from dropping a flagstone on it. So I'm going to go ahead and roll out some more paper and continue on this little strip right here. Well, unfortunately this happens sometimes. The chip drop was not able to make it today. He's going to drop off at another date and time, so I went ahead and just laid down some bricks and things here to just kind of hold all this down, and we're just going to hang tight until he decides that he's got a load that he can drop off. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here where we've got a few of the citrus plants already planted and plant out some I'm gonna put in the clementine mandarin and maybe the brown select satsuma, maybe over here, maybe over here. I don't know, we'll see what we can see where we can put it to make it look good. And here somewhere. There. Well, since the chip drop didn't work today, I'm gonna go ahead and plant out this clementine mandarin in here in the center somewhere. What I've been doing is trying to stick to around the 10 feet, give or take, from the others. Let's see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's just mark that right about there. 10 feet from there, we'll come over to our Indian sweet lime and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's put that right about there. There we go. And then over here to the, what do we got here? The Florida King Peach. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Need to bring that just out over here a little bit more. And we'll go ahead and plant that there so everything has at least 5 feet in any direction for canopy space. I'm gonna go ahead and knock this thing around a little bit. It just got planted in here, about 2 months ago. So there shouldn't be a whole lot of roots going into the new soil, so it should come out of there pretty easy. I've got some little training bars in here to help adjust the branches to where I wanted them to go to kind of fill in some of the canopy space. I'll go ahead and get this popped out, dig a nice little hole, and show you when it's done. And I got this dug out to the paper and the grass level, and there's still some pretty green grass down there. Let's take a look here. According to my size 9 boot, I'd give it about 10 inches deep right there. Nice little layer of wood chips. Now, as expected, it fell out of the pot pretty easily once I tipped it over, and there weren't a whole lot of root that had grown into the new soil, but I did notice that in the pot there were some that were very fragile and ended up breaking off. You can kind of see some of those right there, but it'll regrow. I'm gonna go ahead and get all these extra soil bits kind of tossed in here. And as you can see, I've got this planted up above. Here, bring it in here and see if you can kind of show that right here is a soil level, and it's probably a good about 3 fingers higher than the soil level, but you want that to be above the soil level so that these little air-breathing roots that are up at the top have good access to oxygen. Otherwise, the tree will drown, you'll rot out the roots, and it'll be worthless. Now that I've got a nice little bowl formed and the ball of the root right there, a few inches above the ground level, you can come on in here and take a look at this. As you can see, there's a few inches of wood chips right there. Nice little area for rain to catch in here. And I'll go ahead and backfill this in, but only right up to the trunk, just barely covering the root ball. You don't want to put a whole lot of extra wood chips up on top, because then again, that's going to suffocate your roots, and any extra wood chips around the base here can cause a fungal rot of your trunk and again, kill your tree. One of the last things that I'm going to do with this tree, I'm trying to train one of these branches right here. I've got some tape that's on the underside here that's pulling this branch a little bit more towards the center and then up and out. And what I'm going to try and do is keep training this branch right here to just come over here and kind of fill in this part of the canopy. And honestly, I think it's down to one stick. I think only one more stick will be needed. This branch originally was continuing on with these branches over here and really causing a cluster over here. So I very slowly, a couple weeks at a time, moved the branch over with the rods here just to get it to slowly start growing over here in this direction. And as you can see, it's filling this out. The other thing you're going to notice is, even though this is a young plant, it is covered with flowers, which is very nice and very pretty smelling. However, a lot of these I'm probably just going to end up taking off once it does finally set fruit. I may keep one of the mandarins here per branch, but other than that, I'm just going to let the others kind of pop off or break them off like this, because I don't want the plant to be spending that much energy on fruiting this first year. I want it focusing on the root growth and vegetative growth, but at the same time, I still want to try one this year. The other tree that I'm going to try and get planted in here today is the Brown Select Satsuma right here. And it's already in the midst of flowering as well, because it again was inside the house, and it's also setting a lot of fruit, as you can see here. And like I said, we're going to end up pulling off a bunch of these. And just keep maybe one per branch, or this one I might do one every other branch, because this here, if you look down here at the base, this is a very recent graft on this one. Let me go ahead and pull that off since it's already coming off. This graft is, oh, that's actually a pretty weak graft at that. As you can see, it's splitting apart right here, so it's only got about half of that graft that's staying. I'll see what I can do to help freshen that up and snug that up. But this is a pretty fresh graft. It's not going to be able to set fruit, produce a bunch, and get its good root growth and vegetative growth going at such a young age. So unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be able to have any of these fruits stay through harvest. I would really like to try one though. Maybe next year. Okay, so we got our nice little calamondin bush going here, our sweet lime tree, what do we got here? Clementine mandarin, the Brown Select Satsuma over here. And as you can see, we got the wood chips down, so they're not gonna be touching the trunks of those, but getting good protection. Let's see here, what do we have next? Oh, let's go ahead and take some of these taro roots out. I wanted to just go to Harris Teeter and buy a bunch more of these taros, but apparently they're getting kind of hard to find. I went to Publix and a few other places to try and find some taro. But we've got these nice big clumps of edible taro that I got from Harris Teeter last year. They're growing good and starting to pop back up. So I'm gonna go ahead and tear out a few of these and get those transplanted to the other side of the yard, so that if we want to try some taro recipes, we'll have plenty, regardless of what happens in Hawaii, I guess. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna be doing is transplanting some of these taro plants, also known as elephant ears, but these are the edible kind. We got these at Harris Teeter down the road. This one I just kind of popped it off of the parent plant, and there's a couple little the daughter plants or suckers, however you want to call those. The easiest way that I pull these off is going to dig down here and find the base of one of them, or of many of them. And once you find one, just apply some pressure. Hear that little crack? And yank it out. Oh, I kind of wish I would have grabbed some more of these roots. I usually try to do what I can to not rip these roots off, It helps keep it from having transplant shock. But otherwise, there's a really nice taro right there. Also very good for eating. So let's go ahead and grab a few more of these and get them transplanted across the yard. If you're having troubles, you can always use something like this root slayer shovel. I have used these as a pry bar before and broke the handle eventually. So I just went down to metal supermarkets, got a really thick pipe that would fit in there, cut off the original handle or cut it out from the center, and then just shoved this thing in here. Very robust shovel. It's got a nice little chisel tip right here and saw blades going down the side. Really good for getting roots out. You can always take these and put it in between the two plants that you're wanting to separate. Ugh, that's gross stuff. Ew. Find where you're wanting to split it and just shove it in. Apply a little bit of pressure. You'll hear the pop. And it's really easy to go down and finish yanking it out. And as you can see, there will be some damage to one of the sides. It gives you a little bit more of a wound, but either way, this will grow back and it'll just end up putting out another little pup down there. And then just cover it back up. Oh, here's another one. Let's go ahead and grab this one out too. There we go. And just cover it back up. It'll shoot out more. So now that we're over here in my transplant location, I'm going to show you a few of the different ways that it can come out of the ground. This is a really nice one, just a little bit of a wound from the parent plant. Got a little bit of growth, got plenty of roots going on it, lots of areas for it to create offspring of its own. In this case right here, it looks like I just chopped right through the middle of the parent. There's going to be a lot of damage. This is going to have a fair amount of transplant shock. It may not even survive. But because there is enough of the root material, enough of the roots, and there's plenty of, if you look down here, little starts here, little eyes, there's plenty of potential for future plant growth, even if this original plant does die off. And in this case here, I completely just chopped right through the center of it on both sides. But as you can see, it's got a growth node right here. It's also got plenty of other growth nodes on this side here. So just plant this in the ground. It's good to go ahead and let this air dry for a few hours or a couple days, just to let that wound heal up. Then that way you don't get a horrible bacterial infection or anything in there. But it's not always necessary, and I typically don't. And I'll just put this right at ground level, maybe only a few inches deep, just enough so these roots can get covered up, and then it'll go ahead and pop through this probably 6 or 8 inches of wood mulch that's down here. So let me get these planted in, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so right here on this worst damaged one, you can see where I just moved back the, say, 4 or 5 inches of wood mulch back, dug a little hole right here. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of position this so that the roots are mostly down, and so the corm is kind of going there on the side. With that growth node coming up, go ahead and put some of the soil back in it, cover it up like a little blankie, about like so, and go ahead and bury it. Give this just a couple weeks, and I guarantee you it's pushing up all kinds of new growth. Now in this corner over here that we have, oh, what do we find here? What do we got? What do you got? Ooh, a nice little wiggly worm. Yay. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and just put that right in there. Looks good, just below the soil surface so that this is poking up, about like so. And we'll go ahead and take our very thick clay soil that we have here in this corner. And this is kind of a waterlogged area. One thing that I have noticed is these taros do really like to have a lot of moisture, and they don't mind being in a soggy area, which is great because this is a soggy area. Go ahead and bury this guy again. And as that continues to grow, it'll go ahead and pop up more and eventually fill in this whole corner with 3 to 4 foot tall little elephant ears. So the next thing I'm gonna try and do is I've got this big row of cannas that I've done over here, and I collected a bunch of their seeds, and canna seeds are a bit odd. They will rarely ever kind of germinate and grow new plants on their own. And I've got a mixture of about 3 or 4 different types of cannas in here, which means that these are going to be individual hybrids of whatever they pollinated with. So in order to get these to germinate, what I've discovered or kind of figured out is that by taking a file, square, rectangle, doesn't really matter which size or shape, and just scratching them really good to kind of etch that outside shell, and it kind of takes a little bit to get them to kind of cut in. There we go. And you can see I just etched a little line right there on the shell. And that's all it really takes. We're going to take a few of these, scratch a few more of them, and I'm just going to, oops, I almost lost one. I'm just going to take it and dig down to about the soil level. There we go, some dirt. Drop it in, cover it up, and honestly, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we'll find out. Make sure you subscribe and watch the future videos, and we'll see what we can do to get these things to germinate. Well, even though we didn't get the chip drop put in, we were quite productive today, and we got the little food forest thing filling in, and we have made some progress last couple weeks with moving the wood chips towards our center line over there. We got a clementine mandarin and the brown satsuma, or brown select satsuma. In the ground, we got some of the taros from over here transplanted around. I think we got 8 of those kind of spread out over here at the fence, kind of going along this line here and over to the left a little bit more. And make sure that you subscribe so that you can see any updates that we have here, because we're going to continue on with this back to Eden garden style of tree farming for our fruits. So yeah, see you next time.